In this video I'm going to show you how to draw a rook chess piece using mainly the revolve tool and a patterned cut around the top to make the castellations. I'm going to minimize the finished drawing and start with a new part, and I'm going to draw my shape or my section of my shape on either the front plane or the right plane. I need one of the two vertical planes. I don't want the chess piece to be lying on its side when it's finished. And what I'm then going to do is draw a vertical line as a centre, which will later on become my revolved axis. So I'm going to make sure that's vertical, and I'm going to click OK. I'm just going to use the mouse wheel now to zoom into a better position so the line fills the screen, and then I'm ready then to start sketching my cross section of my chess piece. So I'm going to make up a shape that look hopefully similar to a rook. Lots of different variations of this, so this is only one of my thoughts on this. Lots of small lines. Then I'm going to make it taper outwards slightly towards the base. Give it a bit more feature. And as I close the shape up, it should hopefully go grey, which it has, and that tells me that it's ready to accept a feature if I choose to apply one. But what I'm going to do first, I'm going to get rid of some of these sharp corners and make them softer by radiusing them. So I'm going to use my fillet tool, and I'm going to set quite a small fillet. I haven't done any dimensions on here, so I don't really know what's going to happen when I apply a fillet, but I can see line 22 still selected, so that's the one at the bottom. I'm just going to select that and get rid of that by pressing delete on the keyboard because I don't want to fillet anything down there. And then I'm going to apply my fillets on these upper parts, and that looks about the right size. So I'm just going to work my way down, applying fillets on there, and the same at the bottom. This makes a big difference when you render the shape at the end because, oh, it doesn't like that one because it's a bit too small, so I'll miss that one and go back to it in a minute. Click all of those. I didn't like this one because it couldn't put another 1mm radius on, so I'm just going to select a smaller radius. I'll type in 0.5. Try that. There you go. That's worked. Click on OK. And I've now got what I would say is a half of a cross section of the chess piece. So the next thing to do now is make it a three-dimensional shape. So I'm going to press Ctrl and 7 on the keyboard, and then I'm going to go to my Features menu and choose a revolved boss base. Now a revolve needs an axis of revolution, and that's what that first line was that I drew. And when I click on that, you can see straight away it's guessing that it wants a 360-degree rotation. You can vary that and do part rotations rather than full rotations, but in this instance I want a 360-degree full shape. So I can now click on accept. Before I do that, I just want to show you what happens if you click the wrong axis. You can get all sorts of weird things happening, and it will create dish shapes and other shapes depending on the line you've drawn. So if it does do that, don't panic, just select the correct line. I'm going to click on accept, and that gives me my revolved shape. Now at the top of the castle it needs to be hollow, so I'm going to select the top face and do a new sketch. Instantly a new sketch appears over on the left hand menu. If I click on that and go normal to, it will turn to face me, and that will allow me to put a sketch of a circle inside of the top circle, leave a little bit of a gap for a wall. Click on OK. Now I'm going to go Ctrl 7 on my keyboard again, and then I'm going to do an extruded cut downwards. Extruded cut. I want to see how far that's gone, so I'm just going to rotate that up using my mouse wheel, pressing it down and rotating it around. That's gone too deep, it's going to almost cut through, so I'm just going to take that up a bit shallower and click accept, and I've then got my hollow section at the top. The next thing now is to put the cutouts in the top for the castellations, so I need to do that by choosing either my front or my right plane. I'll choose my front plane and I'll do a sketch. Again, sketch has appeared here, which is my new sketch. I'm going to go normal to that, and then I'm going to zoom in near the top end, and I'm going to draw a center rectangle from the center line to whatever shape I want to cut out. Click on OK. I'm going to go back to Control 7, which takes me to isometric, and then I can do my extruded cut. Now the extruded cut will remove material, and I can go in either direction, frontwards or backwards. I'm going to choose to come frontwards, and then I'm going to click on OK, and you'll see it's removed a small cutout there. If I now want to make a pattern of that around the edge, rather than trying to draw each one individually, I can go to my circular pattern from my features menu, and it will want to know what I want to pattern and what direction I want it to go in. Now, because cut extrude was the last thing I did and was selected in my previous menu, it's already guessed that might be what I want to pattern. And direction 1, I need to select the face I want to go round on. Now you can see that it's guessed automatically I want 6 of these, but actually that's because I've already done some rotations recently and it's remembered my last setting. So I can change that to whatever number I want. I want 6 rotations in this instance, and I want an equal spacing. You can also type in an instance spacing, and you can type in the degrees that you want between each if you're doing a different type of pattern. But in this particular instance, I just want an equal spacing around 360 degrees, and I click on accept. And that gives me the castellations that I was needing at the top. Now I can zoom in on this top end, and these sharp edges are going to need to be softened slightly before I render it. So I'm going to select all of those, but I'm going to use a feature fillet. I'm going to select fillet. The fillet's going to be very small, so I'm going to put 0.3 and see if that's small enough. I'm going to try and see if I can select all of the top edge fillets in one go. There we go, and that's selected all of those with a 0.3 fillet. I'm going to click on OK, and it just softens all of the edges, which makes it look a little bit better when it's rendered. So that's the main shape done and revolved, and what I'm going to do now is apply some render colour to it. So I'm going to go into my picture over on the right hand side here, my appearances, click on there, and I'm going to choose from my stoneware. I can choose any one of these, it might look quite good. I might choose the porcelain one. I'm going to bring that on and drop it onto the shape, and I want it on the whole part, so in this case part 4. Now it hasn't looked particularly impressive yet as a rendering. That's because it's still in the basic view, so I need to go up to my render tools. Now if your render tools aren't showing, it's because you haven't added them in. If I right click, and I'll turn mine back off, you'll notice the tab's now gone. If I right click on the grey toolbar at the top, you can then select your render tools, which will appear. Select the render tools, and I'm just going to do an integrated preview, and I'm going to turn a perspective view, which will make it look more realistic. It'll take a few moments to do depending on the speed of your computer, but you should then get something that looks like this. Now I'm just going to change the background colour. I've got a few there in my favourites. I'm just going to select the 3-point blue to see if it helps it stand out a bit clearer, and you can see there that's just rendering up and looks a little bit better. And that's the end of the video.